The statement of former Trump advisor about the fantastic opportunities of Kazakhstan went almost unnoticed in Russian media. No wonder, behind these words lies not just a geo-economic forecast, but a challenge to old models of influence, first of all, to the Kremlin's. At the core, it is about a possible shift of strategic routes, decision-making centers, and the very architecture of Eurasia, where Kazakhstan may play not a supporting, but a key role. According to the ex-advisor, Kazakhstan has a real chance to stop being the periphery of the post-Soviet space and to turn into one of the global leaders of a new type: economic, infrastructural, technological. He claims the country can attract huge amounts of capital, investment, foreign companies, and become a leader. And these words are not just diplomatic courtesy, they refer to a redistribution of power that is already underway. Unlike Moscow's cumbersome and outdated strategies, the United States seems to bet on economy, infrastructure, and predictability. The world is no longer divided into rigid blocks. It is structured around flexible hubs, countries capable of adapting quickly, becoming nodes of new supply chains, and sources of technological resilience. Kazakhstan, with its neutral foreign policy, vast natural resources, and ambitious modernization agenda, fits perfectly into this model. In recent months, Western interest in Kazakhstan has not just remained stable, it has grown. Energy potential, uranium, hydrocarbons, rare earth metals, and already launched, green, transformation projects make the country a strategic asset in the race for global transformation. Investors, tired of political instability, are looking for new growth points outside China and Russia. In this sense, Kazakhstan acts as a safe harbor, transparent, reforming institutions, and an open dialogue with key capitals. The strategic interest is obvious. As old logistics routes break down, Kazakhstan becomes not just a transit country, but the potential core of new Eurasian logistics, especially along the Trans-Caspian route, linking China and Central Asia with Europe, bypassing Russian territory. In other words, the country stops being Moscow's reserve airfield and enters the orbit of a much more ambitious project. This turn to the global market and strengthening of ties with the US, EU, and the Middle East is not a coincidence. It is the result of Astana's deliberate multi-move policy, a policy the Kremlin clearly underestimated. For Moscow, Kazakhstan was long considered the younger brother, a passive participant in integration projects where the control center was in the Kremlin. But today's Astana demonstrates a much more mature strategy, not just balancing, but multi-vectorism with an emphasis on its own development. The ex-Trump advisor's statement is not a compliment, but a signal. Direct and clear, the West sees Kazakhstan as a foothold in the region, a foothold that Moscow is losing. And this worries the Kremlin, which is used to monopolizing the post-Soviet space. Especially when such statements are accompanied by concrete economic offers, not empty talk about spiritual closeness. We should recall the words of U.S. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce about the Azerbaijan-Armenia-US agreements. This opens significant potential for the South Caucasus and new opportunities for Americans and American companies. The same logic applies to Central Asia. If Azerbaijan, with US support, is quickly escaping Moscow's pressure and playing its own game, then why should Kazakhstan stay aside? Of course, opportunities are not yet realization. To become what Washington sees, Kazakhstan must make a choice. Not between the US or China, but in favor of systemic transformation, strengthening legal institutions, fighting corruption, modernizing infrastructure, and truly moving to an innovative economy. Leaders are not appointed, they become, and the outline is already clear. The world is changing. For the first time in decades, Kazakhstan has a real historic chance, not to serve someone else's architecture of influence, but to form its own. Not to trail behind, but to lead. To be the first. And as the former Trump advisor noted, this chance is truly fantastic.